This war has gone on for over 2 years, cost billions of lives, but this month it finally ends, but not before it takes even more innocent lives. Greetings, loyal members, this is the Dominion War. Now, last month, February of 2376, the Allies launched their invasion of Cardassia, with all-out attacks on all fronts. They were successful in dividing the Dominion holdings into 4 separate pockets, which they can then engage and destroy separately. And this month, that final battle begins. We'll start on the Breen front, where there is some action. The Allies move to cut off the Breen from Dominion space. They move to Balkanar, Hyperia, and Ferenginar. Now, while this technically violates Ferengi neutrality, Ferengi neutrality at this point is completely shot to pieces. Let's not forget that the Dominion previously violated Ferengi neutrality by kidnapping Mugi. Therefore, the Ferengi are perfectly at liberty to invite the Federation into Ferengi space in order to protect it and to prevent the Breen from using it as a means to reinforce Cardassia. Meanwhile, in the north, the Jem'Hadar fleets moved to engage the Center Force. They were drawn north by the various probing attacks that were launched last month, and the result of that is now that they are all very much out of position and separated from the main Dominion force at Cardassia Prime, and so they launch a counterattack to try and break through, engaging Center Force at the systems of Menorah, Felton Prime, and Unefra. The Jem'Hadar plan here is to move to Luzon and engage at Menorah, and then break through the Federation fleet at Menorah, outflanking the Romulan and Klingon fleets and giving them a direct route to Cardassia Prime. In order to do this, we have a reinforced attack column of 3 Jem'Hadar fleets moving from Rakal to Orias to Laval, and then of course to Menorah. However, this attack is ultimately repulsed, as while the Dominion expected the first wave to be repulsed, that fleet is now cut off at Luzon, as the Romulan 4th Legion took the system of Laval, thus blocking off any further reinforcements from the north, and leaving the Jem'Hadar fleet that was repulsed from Menorah trapped at Luzon, surrounded by 3 enemy fleets. Meanwhile, in the north, the Federation are incredibly busy and drive to Prishaka, creating a salient between the Jem'Hadar fleet and the Cardassian Combined Order. Elsewhere in the north, the Cardassians at Kuela, who were surrounded in the previous month, now surrender, taking them out of the fight and closing one of the pockets. The Cardassians at Kuela are not the only Cardassians to surrender this month. The Cardassians at Septimus III also surrender after seeing the Breen fleet at Chintoka obliterated by 4 allied fleets crashing down upon it. The Cardassians very quickly surrender, and so the Chintoka pocket is also closed. At the same time, in the Cardassian pocket, the Allies drive to Atbar Prime. This tightens the Cardassian pocket and brings even more Allied fleets to bear, now creating a complete encirclement around the Cardassian core systems. So with Chintoka cleared, there are now only 3 pockets left, and that also means that because Chintoka has been cleared, the Allied fleets in the Chintoka front are now free to redeploy and reinforce other fronts, and the Allies can move to finish the fight. In the north, the Jem'Hadar fleets at Luzon and Superidon are destroyed by concentrated attacks by a Federation fleet and the Romulan Firebirds, and the Superidon fleet by a joint Klingon Federation fleet. That also secures the salient at Prishaka, which is good news because the Federation continue their advance in the north. 2 pincers drive from Prishaka and Kelrabi, respectively, to Dopa and Rakal. The result is that they divide the Cardassians and the Jem'Hadar. The Jem'Hadar fleets are currently located at Orias, Kora, and Adarak Prime, while the Cardassians, including the Cardassian Joint Order, are at Sheva and Trelka. By dividing these 2 fleets, there's actually a good chance that the Cardassians will willingly surrender because they're not worried about being stabbed in the back by the Jem'Hadar. While the Joint Order is perhaps another matter, it's far more likely that this Cardassian order will very quickly lay down its arms. So, with that, the perimeter of Cardassia is secured, and the Allies can begin their final assault. With all said and done, the Allies have something in the region of 16 fleets, matched against 9 Dominion fleets. That's just short of twice their numbers. This is going to be an incredibly attritional battle. We'll cover the final battle in a more detailed video, the actual Battle of Cardassia, because it is quite a complicated affair. It's not just the Battle of Cardassia Prime, it also is the Battle of Sukara and Rondak as well. So there's a multitude of battles actually going on, all within this relatively confined area of space, and it's going to be quite complex to go into, and given that I'm not even sure of the details myself, I shan't try to elucidate too much on how that battle plays out. Suffice it to say, it was an incredibly complex and brutal multi-front, multi-day battle, during which the Cardassians changed sides. After the massacre of Lacarian City, which killed 2 million Cardassian civilians, the Cardassians, understandably, are a little bit cheesed off at this, and so swap sides during the battle. It's also quite probable that the Cardassians realised that the Allies were going to probably win this battle one way or another. A whole historical argument can be made as to the difference that the Cardassians made, but certainly the Allies during that battle, while they were taking losses, they were still driving forward. They were still achieving progress against the Dominion, but of course the Cardassians changing sides expedited that process greatly. However, there were consequences for this. So one of the first things is that the Dominion very quickly moves to liquidate the Joint Orders. The Jem'Hadar in the Joint Orders had orders in the case of potential Cardassian betrayal. There was to be no doubt, no questioning. They were going to leave nothing up to chance. If the regular Cardassian forces actually started an active rebellion, the Jem'Hadar were not allowed to give the Cardassians in the Joint Orders any chance to consider their loyalties. And so the result is that the Dominion neuters one of their best units, basically cutting the strength of the Joint Orders in half, which is helpful for the Allies. And the Cardassian regular fleets that are still there still retain a decent amount of their strength, including some Hutet battleships. As I say, it seems to expedite the Allies' progress, and they surround Cardassia Prime. At the same time, on the planet's surface, Cardassians begin rising up against their Dominion oppressors. The Dominion, in response, begins enacting total extermination of the population. Some of the Dominion ships in position above the planet begin bombarding the surface. In a few hours, the Dominion kills upwards of 800 million Cardassians. And that's not even using their full force, that's with a small section of their fleet bombarding the planet, while the rest of the fleet is ready to engage the Allies, who have now closed in and surrounded the planet. At the same time, the Allies did not escape the battle unscathed. During the main battle, the Allies lost something in the region of 5 fleets, about a third of their force. Again, I'll go into greater detail in a separate video on this battle, but the Allies have definitely taken heavy casualties and are severely fatigued from days of active fighting. And it looks like that they are going to be in for one of the brutalest and bloodiest battles in history. Fortunately, the Founder surrenders. After meeting and linking with Odo, who cures her of the morphogenic virus, she stands down. It's quite likely that the Changeling knew that she was going to die, the Founders were going to die, and that was why she engaged in such a callous waste of life. There was no military value in the extermination of the Cardassians. The war was lost at this point, and the Founder and the Dominion knew it, but they still tried to exterminate the Cardassians simply for its own sake, simply for the sake of destruction, just so that they could make another statement as to how far they were willing to go, even though that was not going to bring them victory. They were going to show the Alpha Quadrant the consequences of their defeat. In many ways, it's the exact same mentality with which the Jem'Hadar rammed the USS Odyssey all those years ago. The same mindset is at play, and fortunately, that same mindset breaks, and the Dominion stops. So the war is over. The Founder surrenders and will stand trial for her crimes, as will her Vorta and Cardassian officers, although those who changed sides were given significantly more lenient sentences, or were in fact acquitted altogether. But that's really a story for another time. The war is over and the Allies have won. But there's an awful mess to clean up. The next worst thing to a battle lost is a battle won. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for following me along on this series. It's been a long time getting from there to here, but there we are. The timeline of the Dominion War is completed. Now, you all probably want to know what's next. Well, for starters, this series is far from over. If you thought this was the end, no. We've obviously got a lot of Battle Space episodes that will be coming out to, fill in the gaps. And I'm probably also going to be doing a lot of specials. Battle of Cardassia might be one, or perhaps it might be an entire Battle Space episode. There are all sorts of details of the Dominion War that need to be filled in yet. Whether that's the details of the Dominion raiding campaign in the middle part of the war, whether that's the interspecies politics that is playing out, whether that's Damar's rebellion. There's an awful lot of details that need to be fleshed out, and this series was always only ever intended as a brief overview, a connect the dots, something that you could follow along between the Battle Space episodes that would give a little bit more context to the war, and that ultimately existed for me to make sense as I was going through the Dominion War. It was a writing tool. It was so I could make sense of what was going on in each individual episode and how it played into a wider context, rather than having all the different battles and stories portrayed in isolation, which wouldn't really help anyone, really. I think the what I really wanted to accomplish with this project, and will continue to work towards with this project, is bringing the fullest big picture understanding of the Dominion War that we possibly can. As much as possible, understand the detail, understand what's going on, and understand, as always, which has always been the policy with my channel, look for the details, look for what we didn't see on screen. Maybe what's implied but we didn't see, or maybe something that probably would have happened but we just never saw. These are the things that I have always sought to cover, and that is what you can continue to expect from this series. So thank you guys so much for your support, and I will see you in future specials of the Dominion War. So thank you guys for watching. Well, the war's over, so I guess I'll see you out there.